Thanks for checking out this movie review video. So this is for the holiday horror film from 1991, Silent Night, Deadly Night, The Toymaker. And if you haven't noticed, since I've been going through doing all these, which by the way, if you didn't know, I have an entire playlist on my channel for reviews of all the Silent Night, Deadly Night films at this point. So you can get all of them there. Now, if you've gone through all of them, I think it's worth note that numbers 3, 4, and 5 were all done 89, 90, 91. So they really pumped them out at that point. I think the first was 84, then it was 87 for the second one, so there's a 3-year gap there, and then 87 to 89, so it's a 2-year gap, and then they were just like boom, boom, boom with these. So pumping them out for a while, and then it went silent. But I will tell you, I would take more in this franchise, and I'm actually kind of sad that this is my last review for this, because it had been a while up until this, doing like an entire franchise of something in a row, and it's just fun. It's a good time. I'll do another at some point soon-ish. Anyway, Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toymaker, was directed by Martin Kitrosser, who also directed Friday the 13th Part 3, and Friday the 13th A New Beginning, as well as Meatballs Part 2, which I have not seen. I've seen the original Meatballs. Oh, and I've seen every Friday the 13th, as you would probably assume. Written by Kitrosser, as well as Brian Yuzna, who, if you remember, Yuzna was involved with the writing for number 4, Initiation, as well as was the director for number 4. So, yeah, and you can see some crossover between the stories. Yuzna, known for From Beyond, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Bride of Reanimator, and Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation. Now, note that Mickey Rooney is in this film playing the Toymaker Joe Petto, and he, as we believe, is the big baddie in this. Now, there's an interesting thing about him. I'm sure some of you may already know this. He was one of those people who was very outspoken when the first Silent Night, Deadly Night film came out, and was very angry at the fact that it was degrading Christmas, basically. What did he say exactly? He said it was sullying the sacredness of Christmas, basically. And he was one of those people who was very vocal and saying this is terrible, depicting a killer Santa Claus. So it's weird that Mickey Rooney then is in a Silent Night, Deadly Night film. But I will say, potentially in his defense, there is no actual killer Santa in this. Yes, you could argue that at one point Pedo is dressed up as Santa Claus, even though that's actually behind, I was trying to say behind a mask, but it's not really a mask. It's a different look for Pino. Pino Pedo, I guess is what it would be. That's a weird name. But yeah, so they are a killer at that point, and they're dressed up like Santa Claus, but you don't actually see killing while they're in Santa Claus costume, unless you want to count when the babysitter's having sex with, what's his name, Buck, and he unleashes all the toys and they get killed. So I guess you could count it in that way, but there's no like specific people dying at the hands of Santa Claus, of any Santa Claus. So a little bit in his, defense. So, of course, in all of these films, you have to have scenes where kids end up witnessing adults having sex, and that is how they start this film, with the little kid Derek seeing his mother and father, well, at that point, who he thinks is his father, having sex, and then he sneaks downstairs, and that's when he gets the toy that inevitably ends up killing his father and causes the terrible trauma to him that causes him to not be able to speak until the very end of the film, because that's usually how it works in films in general. Is if there's an issue in the beginning caused by trauma, especially like not being able to speak anymore, you pretty much know that as long as it has a happy ending, it's going to be resolved at the end. And that's exactly what happens with this. It's very formulaic, to be honest, but you expect it with these films, especially like 80s, 90s films. You really expect them to be super formulaic. Even nowadays that happens, though. I like the setup with the killer toy, but what is it doing? It kind of seemed more like the dad ended up killing himself by being a spastic idiot, as opposed to the actual toy killing him. Really, all the toy did was just wrap its arms and legs around his head and like pull up to his face. So I don't know if it was supposed to insinuate that he was being suffocated by it, and that's why he starts like flailing around and knocking into things and ends up killing himself, because he like whacks his head on the fireplace, and then the poker falls over and he like falls on top of the poker. The toy didn't actually kill him. He killed himself accidentally by flailing around probably way too much, very much overreacting, when really he should have just been sitting there, working on getting that thing off his head. But anyway, that's not the point of this. I just thought that was kind of funny. Oh, the other thing is, that scene of him, like, kind of in slow motion, like, fighting this thing and stumbling all over the place, goes on way too long. Way too long. And that's another problem just with this film in general. Like, the pacing's not that great. I enjoy this film. It's worth enough of a watch, and I'll rate it in two ways, as a normal film and so bad it's good, but the pacing isn't the greatest. Showing that the ball is still in the house when they do their 2 years later thing lets the audience know that there's more havoc that's going to end up being wrought, and at the hands of these toys. So yes, that is a good little foreshadowing. By having Derek no longer able to speak, it makes him an even more vulnerable character. That's one of the big reasons that that's done, is because it makes, a already vulnerable character being a child seem even more vulnerable, because he's not able to speak at this point, so he can't yell for anyone's help. So when he would get into a bad situation, he can't get help. He's even more secluded and able to be harmed. Pedo and Pino are a play on Geppetto and Pinocchio from the old Pinocchio storyline. This gives the hint early on, when you hear their names of Pedo and Pino, that Pedo makes toys that come to life, and that Pino himself is a toy. I do think it was a little too... It was a little too on the nose, in my opinion. Maybe some people didn't pick it up when they've seen it and made that connection of Geppetto and Pinocchio. That's fine. I'm sure there are some people who didn't, but I'm sure a lot of people did make that connection. And then if it makes you think to the story, then well, Geppetto made toys that came to life, and Pinocchio wasn't a real boy. And that's exactly what's going on in this film. I like that aspect of the story, but I just don't like that they name them Pedo and Pino, because it's too strong of an indicator that that's what's going on. Like, do the storyline and make it basically a Geppetto and Pinocchio story, but don't have their names be that. Like, cover it up a little bit more in the beginning, and then I think it would be even more of a fun surprise at the end. Because of that, when I was watching it for the first time, I assumed that Pedo had made Pinocchio. Oh, Pino. Sorry. So... To make people like Noah, he's quickly painted as a down-on-his-luck military vet. But he's then made to look kind of suspicious, with him having the article about Derek's father dying, as well as saying the phrase, "Don't open that until Christmas," which was written on the box that was opened and killed Derek's father. And that's what he says to that motel owner when he gives him one of the toys that he had gotten. And then obviously that toy kills him in probably my favorite scene of the film. It's definitely a great kill, where that thing comes to life. And it looks a lot like those slimy, elongated cockroaches that were in Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 Initiation. And I think it's kind of supposed to be a callback to that film, at least a nod to that film for that reason. Also, all the practical effects in this film done by Screaming Mad George, who did them for the fourth one. So yeah, continuity there. But I love how it like worms its way into the guy's mouth, which is also going back to the fourth film, because there was a bunch of that type stuff that went on. And then it doesn't just do that. Like, it would have been good enough if it did that, but then you see his eyes just like pop into his head, and then the thing comes out one of his eye sockets. Great touch on that. That's why it's probably my favorite part of the film. Looked really good. I like the aspect of Noah sneaking around trying to figure out what Pedo is up to. I did like that. It kind of gave it like this little like breaking and entering, he could get caught at any time type thing. And at that point, you're not 100% sure about him, because they intentionally paint him in this light of being like, is he good? Is he not good? So yeah, you're still trying to figure him out at that point. And I like the fact that Clint Howard is back in this and playing another character named Ricky. Obviously, he was Ricky in the fourth one, which that character had way more screen time and was a really awesome character and performance, I thought. I would have liked to see Clint Howard in this one even more, but I'll take all the Clint Howard performance I can get. He was, for the little bit he was on the screen in this one, good enough. Noah really is acting like a creepy Santa, especially when he won't let Derek get off his lap. He's being a mall Santa. Derek shows up, and then he's acting like such a creeper. He does this throughout the entire film. Like, I understand that this is supposed to be him having a lot of suspicion cast on him, so that the audience is kind of like, I don't know about this guy. He could be the one making all these killer toys. Like, I understand that, but he just acts like so ridiculous and so over the top. And like, he would be intelligent to know that he shouldn't be acting that creepy and that aggressive, especially in front of a bunch of people as a mall Santa, being like, no, this kid can't get off my lap. No, this kid can't get off my lap. And like the look on his face, he was just like staring crazily. It was something. But he does even more. And I'll talk. Probably the parking garage scene is probably one of the worst, but I'll talk more about him being creepy in a few scenes. All the scenes of Pino walking around the house is excessive. I think it's supposed to show his longing to be a real boy at this point, and definitely that is what's at play, especially because this is the Pinocchio story. That's definitely what it was supposed to be. He literally was just going around being like, why can't I be a real boy? Is this what a family's like? And then he becomes so jealous of what Derek had at one point, and yeah, that's why he kills. Not sure why Sarah leaves an opportunity for Pino to break back into her house when she actually goes and confronts Pedo about it, and he denies it at first, but he's like, okay, we used to live there, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if that's an insinuation, though, that like they never changed the locks and they still have keys to get in. I don't know. Or they're actually like physically breaking something to get in. But she then she's like, I'm going to call the cops. And he's like, no, don't call the cops. And that's when he tells the story, his backstory. And then a little bit of his backstory. And then she's just like, oh, okay, I guess I feel for you. And she's leaving it. She literally says, if it happens again, I'm going to call the cops. But here's the thing, like, someone broke into your house. Like, legit broke into your house. You know who it is. You saw their face. Like, just report it to the police. Like, don't leave another opportunity, because she's obviously not 100% sure at that point that Pino won't do it again. So why would she even leave that opportunity open, especially with a child? I don't know. Just saying. Based on the drunken yelling from Pedo at Pino, you get the feeling that he beats him. And that is talked about a little bit at the end when Pino goes on his long diatribe about, how he had to kill Pedo so that he wouldn't hurt him again, basically. So but you already get that feeling when he's drunk, and the way he's yelling at Pino when he's, in that hatch door basement. So, yeah. Noah is very good at acting like a creeper when he shows up at Derek's house saying he wants to be his friend and has something special for him. I understand, really, when we find out about it, that he's actually his father. He wants to be in his life. He wants to get to know him. But you gotta say something like that. Before you're saying things creepily, showing up out of nowhere, and he doesn't even know who you are. Like, I'm gonna be your best friend. I want to be your friend. I have something special for you. It just goes back to he would be smart enough to not act this way. He would. I didn't see Sarah kissing Noah coming. Especially not after he stalks and then chases her through a dark parking garage. Yeah, this is probably the most egregious of all the him being a creeper situations. Because literally it's like an empty parking garage, dark, and he's stalking her. He's literally stalking after her. And then she starts to run, and he runs after her. He doesn't even say something first. He doesn't say, oh, Sarah, it's me, Noah. Remember when we had sex and had a child that you never told me about? It's it's ridiculous, but it also adds to the charm of a so bad it's good film, in my opinion. Just saying. It's some daytime drama stuff when they reveal Noah is Derek's father. It really did feel like daytime drama. It was something like Days of Our Lives or General Hospital or As the World Turns. Wow. It's pretty insane that I know all those titles. Wow. Okay. I didn't know that I knew those. That is potentially revealing about me, I guess. Huh. Don't know. Anyway, it felt very daytime drama. I'm sure most people would agree. What's with the dueling sex scenes? I did not really understand the dueling sex scenes where it's the babysitter and Buck getting it on. Like, I understand that because they're preoccupied, and then that's when Pino, disguised as pedo in a Santa suit, sneaks in, sets these toys loose, and then they end up getting killed because they're distracted. I get that. But why do we need to see the sex scene intercut with that, with Sarah and Noah in the car? Like, I don't... Like, there's no need for it. There's no reason. Them just kissing when he explains everything to her is enough. You know, like, they don't need a sex scene there. So the dueling sex scene thing was just weird. It was just weird. And more distracting than anything. I wish they would have just stayed with the whole babysitter sex scene with the toys killing them. The toy hand getting involved with the babysitter sex scene looks horrible. I expect more from Screaming Mad George. I don't know what happened on that one. Usually does a phenomenal job, but that hand looked terrible. Not in every single shot, but most of the shots it looked really, really, really bad. I don't know what happened there. Overall, the sex scene toy attack is not bad. I do think it was pretty cool, especially as they ramped up the violence and the craziness towards the end. Plus the fact that they included a good number of toys so they could kind of assault them in different ways. That was fun. I like that aspect of it. So at first when it started out, I'm like, this isn't going so well, especially with that terrible looking hand. But then as it progressed, it picked up, got better, got better, got better. I especially like that little like toy car that had the spikes come out and it like stuck itself to Buck's chest and then had those saws out that it insinuates that it pops his head off, which, you know, you see the severed head later. I think Sarah ends up finding it. But yeah. Hearing Noah tell Pedo's backstory makes me wonder if he was Jigsaw before Jigsaw. Think about that. Think about that potential connection. Is he just like Jigsaw? Because, I mean, it seems similar. You know, he had a wife, she was with child, she died, then he becomes so angry, he's making toys that kill people. Super similar to Jigsaw in the Saw films, just saying. I'm not saying that James Wan and Lee Wanell stole from this film, but I might be saying that they stole from this film. I'm just saying. Gotta love how Pedo takes down Noah with a small squirt gun. Well, that was, at that point, it was Pino who's disguised as Pedo. But when Noah was looking for him and he opens the door and he's just there with like this really tiny like neon orange squirt gun, and he's just like psst, 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 in his eye. I was like, what? And then he's like falling way back. Like, okay, I get it if it's like acid or something, but if it's acid, it wouldn't actually, you know, it would have broken down the plastic gun. But it's just water. From what I can tell. I don't know, maybe it was Drano or something. He got it in his eyes. Like, I feel like at that point you need to see him like kind of loading it up. But they wanted there to be like a little bit of a jump scare, a little bit of a surprise to it. So it just seems like it's water. So it just plays oddly. Which there are a few of those moments in this film. Pretty solid reveal, though, of Pino disguising himself as Pedo after he killed Pedo. I did like that. How the body's found first, and then you're like, what is going on? And then the whole, like, front of the fake face that comes off. And then, you know, Pino's face is put on and everything. I like that. But when they then go to, like, the full body reveal, ooh. I mean, I thought the, like, no penis thing was pretty funny. And the fact that Pino even talks about it, he's like, he can make anything. And then he looks down, he's like, well, almost anything. I mean, he could have made one of those. I'm sure he could have made one of those based off everything else we saw, but he chose not to. And that maybe is why Pino was so pissed. Especially because he had been seeing other people have sex, like the babysitter. I'm just saying. Just throwing a little extra out there. It's unsettling how Pino talks about being Sarah's son now, yet he's simulating having sex with her at the same time. Like, he's literally trying to sexually assault her while he's telling her, I'm going to be your son now, we're going to be a family, you're going to be my mommy. It's unsettling. It's disturbing. And I was just like, okay. I mean, the only thing that makes it a bit better is we know he has no penis. So that makes it a bit better, but it's just still the act of it. It's just, Yeah. I mean, the combo of what he's saying and what he's doing, just, yeah. And of course, once it's all done, Derek talks. All fixed, except for the extra Derek who's out there, which was probably supposed to be the setup for Silent Night, Deadly Night 6. I don't know, what would we end up calling that one? Um, Better check it twice? As in Derek? Because there's two of them? I don't know. That's just off the cuff. I did not plan that out, so just, it's terrible, and I own it. But no, it wasn't planned out. So yeah, I didn't workshop it or anything. Anyway, this is all about family issues. This whole film, all about family issues. Consider it. Pedo's loss of his wife and child, Pino's struggle as an unloved and abused child at the hands of Pedo, Derek's loss of his father, Sarah's loss of her husband, and Noah's quest to become a part of his previously denied family. As in, he was denied the family, basically, because Sarah never even let him know that she was pregnant from him and that they had a child. So much family stuff. Like, so many family issues. It's all about family. You would think this was, like, inspired by a Stephen King book, because it's all about family issues with Stephen King for the most part. This film really did need more Brian Bremer, the person who played Pino. His acting is the right mix of good, bad, and awkward. That is, I think, other than that kill scene I was talking about with the motel owner and like the thing that goes in his mouth and out his eye, my favorite scene is the end when Pino's just like going off about his life situation and how he wanted to be a real boy and all those things, because that acting, like I said, it's like the perfect mix of good, bad, and awkward, and it's just like, yeah, like it's kind of like the awesome bad acting that Eric Freeman does in Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. And I just wanted more of it. Like, Brian Bremer just did not have enough screen time, in my opinion. They really should have leaned heavier on him. Because of the casting and character name, it does seem that Kim, the character of Kim, who is the exact same person who played Kim in Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 Initiation, she might be there to kind of link the two. I don't know if they put it in there just as like a nod to it and be like, haha, this is kind of funny. It's the same actress playing a character with the same name as the last film. Or if they were just doing this to be like, we're trying to insinuate to you that these are in the same world. Like, these happened with each other. But you could also make an assumption that all of the films from the franchise happen in the same world, which, would make sense. But some of the stuff is very kind of disconnected. I'm looking at you, Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, better watch out. More like Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, better not watch it. It's not good. I hate it. That's also one I didn't workshop. Don't blame me on that one. Well, I mean, do, but no, it wasn't workshop. Just saying. So anyway, those are my feelings on Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toy Maker. I enjoyed it enough. I had a good enough time. So out of 5 stars with half stars in play, as a straight up film, I'd give it 2.5 stars. Now, as a so bad it's good film, I'd give it 3 stars. Not a huge bump up, but enjoyable enough. Like I said, the pacing was a big problem in my opinion. I would have liked to seen them go a little bit crazier with the practical effects, because we know what Screamin' Mad George can do. Like, we do, and it's usually awesome. So give him a bigger budget. That would have been awesome. And like I said, more Brian Bremer, lean more into that stuff. But it's still worth watching in my opinion, and it's certainly not the worst of the films. That's number 3, is by far the worst. I enjoyed all the films in different ways except the third one. Just saying. But anyway, I would love to know your thoughts on this film and the entire franchise if you want to. Down in the comments, do you agree with me, disagree with me? Let's get nerdy. If you have not subscribed to me, please consider doing that, because it's literally your way to repay me. I'm not making any money doing this at this point when I'm recording this video. Maybe one day, I don't know. That would be nice. But I'm just doing it as a creative outlet. Also, I can't get super nerdy in as far as horror films go with people who live in my area. So this is also a way for me to reach out for, creating community. So consider joining this community by subscribing. Also hit the notification bell button if you can. And, you can. It takes you a second. And, yeah, then you'll know when I'm putting up new videos. But anyway, I really do thank you for taking your time to check out this video. And until next time, keep it brutal.